Hello there, everybody. This is Nightlife here, and I am very loud. I'm sorry. And I am going to give you the next chapter of Project Horizons. Now, it's been a very long time. I believe it was on chapter 20, wasn't I? Okay, let me just type that in. Project... Oh! Horizons. Enter. Bing.com /search question mark set mic. Alright, let's just go to EQD then. Okay. And in case it's not apparent, I scarcely edit any of my videos. You're getting me raw like Auschwitz. Not Auschwitz, Auschwitz. That EQD front page picture. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Twilight is not happy. What's up with Chrysalis? What did you listen to Killer Spike? You see. Okay. Ooh, fan art. I'm gonna say in lingerie. Oh, that is sexy. Yeah, there's some parts up ahead that get a bit. Ace and Queen. The second best. Only beat by Ace and King. Lunake or Lacune in lingerie. Oh, she's so cute. She's in like a harness type thing with fishnet stockings and a blush. She's so cute. What? Don't do this to me, Google. Come on. Yo, yo, yo. This is Nightlife. And I've gone for 3 minutes and not even the story. Oh, come on. I'm gonna pause it. Here we go. Alright, this is Project Horizons. Written by Somber. Yes, we are on chapter 20. Because last one was EC1101, this one is Mercy. Tough love, baby. I still think Lacune in lingerie is so cute. And just a little bit R34. There's no bits showing, it's a side view. And she doesn't have a gigantic member. Okay, it's up. Let's get this show on the broken road. Wait, 1 second. Okay, now I know it's been a very long time, and I know these are kind of long, and you may not want to go back over to read them, so I'm gonna go over what happened last time. And it's not a spoiler because you've had several weeks. I know, I'm very, 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 very sorry. Rampage killed Thorn. It had been raining for a while now. A cold rain. A hard rain. The kind of rain that makes you feel like some pony up there doesn't like you. My throat burned. My legs ached. And every breath I took sounded like rasping metal. Ooh, you have no idea. I looked up at the rain, too tired to even cry, but not too tired for this, for what I had to do. I started to dig. It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt anymore. It doesn't. Rampage whispered to the crushed thorn over and over. She was right. It didn't hurt. The shock rolling through me had mutated into something completely new. A fury so absolute and complete that I launched myself at the striped pony, not caring about my injuries or even that I had no way to kill her. It'd taken a combat drug cocktail last time. This time it was something even more potent. My absolute and complete failure to protect a filly I'd sworn to. Rampage had told me she was a monster. If it took a monster to kill her, then that is what I'd become. Murderer! I screamed as I struck her, knocking the poor foal's body out from that ghastly embrace. I screamed again, seizing her head in my hooves and slamming it against the metal railing again and again. I heard bones break and felt the spongy material within. Then I felt the head solidify. No problem, I just have to do it harder and faster. Again and again and again. Till it worked. Every bit of frustration, all my failures, built into a horrible frenzy within me. I was supposed to keep Polly safe. I was security, damn it. Of course, the first pony she'd go to was Rampage. And I'd been warned. I'd told her I'd stop her if she was alone with the filly. But no pony had thought to tell the Crusaders to keep Thorn away. How could we have explained it to her, anyway? That she just lost her mother. She just watched her get put into the ground. How could I have been so stupid? Just one. Just save one, Blackjack. Couldn't I even manage that? You did. You saved... Damn it. You saved one. You saved two. We often do not realize the good we do. Crack, crack, crack. Finally, Rampage heaved me away, her inequine strength sending me rolling across the cracked asphalt. The look in her eyes, the tone of her voice, the way she stood, it was all different. Murderer, you monster! Don't you get it? This is the merciful thing to do, she said calmly as she charged at me. Her lips curled in a snide grin. Her key mark churned over and around the pony's skull. I wrapped my full legs around the railing behind me, twisted and planted a double kick near a double rear kick to her face, just like a certain orange pony would. Yeah, have a buck in that face. The kick would have knocked out most mares. The crunch of a broken snout and ending the fight. Rampage was not most mares. She was suffering. I gave her mercy, she said, quite matter-of-factly, like I was an ignorant fool. You didn't have to kill her, Rampage. You didn't have to kill her to end that, Rampage. I yelled as she came at me again, throwing her forelegs around my neck and starting to squeeze. Only the rain allowed me to slip my head free before she popped it off entirely. I ended up beneath her and bucked to toss her up. As she dropped back down on me, I slammed my spine into her ribcage. Her breath whooshed out in a satisfying gust. I tossed her off my back. She landed, choking and gagging, on the cracked asphalt. Adrenaline was carrying me only so far. I really needed some buck and stampede. Druggy. It was the kind thing to do, Rampage gasped, choking as her eyes stared out into the rain over the bridge. So much pain. So much suffering. I had to do it. Fluttershy couldn't end it. Celestia couldn't. But I could take her pain away. I could take their pain away. Couldn't you understand? She glared at me in contempt. There was glyphs twisting around the skull. Can't you understand? They were in pain. Even when we took their nightmares away, they still suffered. So I gave them mercy. Wouldn't you do the same? Terminate power. Y/N. A cold hand gripped my rotten heart. No, I said, but my denial skills had gotten rusty in the last few days. It's not the same. They were crazy and trapped. The buck? They were crazy and trapped. I would have to do this. I would have had to do the same. I would have had to leave them there. I tried to slam her into the ground. Shut her up for good. I didn't want to think about it. Don't think about it. I can only get you so far, girl. And then we all yawned and gave up. No. But when she hit the roadway with the sound of another bone breaking, she arched a brow and grinned in that kind of haughty, condescending manner. Oh? Oh, ho, 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 ho. So, you have given out mercy as well. Killed the helpless foal to spare the pain? Pulled the plug? I felt numb and stumbled, and she shoved me away from her. Oh, so that was it? I've done that too. I had no choice, I yelled, trying to convince through volume. I had no choice, she mocked in return. Isn't that how it always goes? No, you didn't have to kill her, I said desperately as we circled each other, my body suddenly feeling very tired and weak. There was nothing I could have done. Nothing? Really? Her voice lowered even more. Didn't stay with them? Didn't help them? Didn't find some pony who could? Didn't devote yourself to doing everything possible to save them? Her question slammed me into me harder than her hooves as I backed away, towards the flaking word mercy on the asphalt. Oh shit. Okay, as you may have noticed, it's been a little bit, so let's start this sentence over. Her question slammed into me harder than her hooves as I backed away, towards the flaking word mercy on the asphalt. I thought my choice was lose-lose. I knew some of the children were crazy, but had I gone from pod to pod to find out for sure? Could some of them have been saved? I thought the Colongate and society wouldn't have helped, but had I asked them? Had I dragged Archibald and Splendid up there to find out for sure that there were no medics in the wasteland? Had I devoted my life to finding some way of saving those terrible innocents? No. I'd pulled the plug, sung a little song, and then gone back to Megamart to collect some bottle caps. And you killed yourself in the process. Rampage pounced, knocking me back onto the warning sign, and laying atop me. You're no different than me. Not at all. Sanctimonious, cruel, and vile. This world is too painful, too corrupt, too hateful. Mercy is the only decent thing we can give them, she said to me softly, contemptuously, as her hooves crushed down with terrible power. But don't worry, Blackjack. I know you're in pain. I know you're sick. I'll give you mercy too. Rampage, I gasped, my legs kicking and struggling against her, but I wasn't even sure if I was really fighting her anymore. Whoever this mare taught me was, she wasn't the Rampage I'd known. You keep calling me Rampage, she said softly as I gasped and choked. That's not my name. Get off her, you cunt! Gloria screamed. The red Pegasus dove down from above. A stream of red beams burned smoking holes into the striped pony's body. The holes closed before my eyes, but Gloria had the bit of her battle saddle clenched clenched and poured onto the fire. Finally, one beam from her boxy pistols hit in just the right way, and the immolation reaction flashed along the striped pony. Her hooves burned my throat as she collapsed into a pile of ash atop me. Holy shit! Damn, girl. Something hard and heavy landed on my chest. I coughed and hacked as I looked at an egg of pink quartz wrapped in gold wire and glowing with an eerie pink tinged light. A strange glyph in the egg's center, a twisting whirlpool that throbbed like a heart, glowing more brightly than the rest, and there were more lights within. I shoved it off and rolled onto my side, and Glory landed next to me. Easy, Blackjack, easy. She's dead now. Breathe. She almost crushed your windpipe. From the worry on her face, I suspected she wasn't sure about the almost part. What the heck is this? I asked softly as I held the egg aloft. I think it's some kind of rejuvenation talisman. It looks like. Gloria trailed off, rubbing her chin thoughtfully. Suddenly, a pink cloud began to collect around the egg, forming worms of crimson that spread and curled into fresh veins and arteries. Tissue crawled over the surface and formed into a pinkish red mass that began to beat. I watched as bones grew like weeds and muscles stretched to cover them. Finally, young pale skin covered in brilliant red stripes spread like moss over her frame. The rampage foal jerked, took a shallow breath, then another. Her pink eyes opened and looked at me in utter misery. I did it again, didn't I? As I looked down at her, I wasn't sure I could answer. Slowly, the tiny foal curled up and wept. I'm sorry, she whispered over and over again, but to whom I couldn't be sure. Her flank bore a dark mark, like a bruise. Oh, fuck. Sweet Celestia, Glory breathed in amazement. Rampage? I asked softly as the two striped sticks wrapped in barbed wire appeared on her flank. I did it again, didn't I? She said as she sniffed. Then she looked at Thorn. A look of such pain crossed her young face that I couldn't help myself. I hugged the striped foal while she sobbed into my shoulders. Not again. Why did it have to happen again? I'd been repulsed by what she'd done, and hurt by what she'd said. But at this second, all I knew was that she needed my help. And maybe a hug would calm her every pony down enough for some pony to explain what was going on. Glory watched her closely. What happened, Rampage? I went away. I was bummed. I like being by water, so I thought I'd come out here till the funeral was done. And then Thornton came running, and she was crying, and I wanted to give her a hug, but I was afraid, and I went away, till just now. Glory listened closely with a little frown. I guess I got disintegrated. That's usually the only time I come out of it like this. So, you're crazy, I said with a little half smile. That should have been obvious. I guess. Glory rubbed her chin in thought. How long do these blackouts last? It's not. She sighed and smacked the sides of her head. It's like I'm there, and then I'm somewhere else. And it's a bad place. She whispered, and then as she trembled in my limbs. Then it's not crazy, Gloria said with a small frown. Our eyes met, and she gave a small, apologetic smile. Please remember, I'm drawing on one class of psychology and something I read in a Cantonite Journal of Medicine. But in real psychological disorders, another personality doesn't just completely take over. That's not how it works. Rampage looked shocked. And honestly, so am I. What the fuck? Huh. I always figured. I mean, are you sure I'm not cracked? She asked with a confused, worried little look. You just regenerated from some talisman in your chest. Gloria replied with a shake of her head. I'm not sure of anything with you, but if it was something as simple as being crazy, then it would be consistent. Or one of you, or you're one hell of an actress. But if you wanted to kill us, heck, kill all of Chapel, you could have. So I don't think a part of your brain is twigged. She sighed and frowned. This is something else. Multiple souls. Soul jar. Multiple souls. Really freaking powerful thing. Zashi has a or whatever Zebra's storyteller's name is, has a story like this of a warrior who put his soul in a stone that he then put in his chest. I saw others running up and took the opportunity to engage in another bout of rasping and coughing. I rubbed my bruised windpipe, hoping that maybe sometime soon the wasteland would give at least my respiratory system a break. Blackjack! P-21 shouted as he limped towards us. Sakashi, that's her name, carrying a burlap sack, was hurrying up behind him. The zebra took one look at the three of us, sighed, and came straight to me. She dug into her bag and pulled out a sparkle cola bottle filled with something that had the consistency of paint. Ugh. I took a drink and felt a similar sensation of a healing potion, though it tasted somewhat odd. Good though. P-21. Oh God, Blackjack. You don't even you thought the price was good. You're what you think something tastes like is null and void. Your opinion on taste is null and void. Yes, that's the word. P-21 stopped so short at the sight of realms of Thorn's crumpled body that he tripped and fell on his face. What? Thorn? He looked at Rampage. He looked at the tiny Rampage. What the fuck is going on? I slowly rose, spitting and hacking phlegm as the zebra's brood did its work. I was so glad I could still swallow, even if it hurt. Finally, I rasped. Some pony killed Thorn, not Rampage. My voice sounded worse than a ghoul's. Some pony killed Thorn, not Rampage. Gilbert Gottfried. I slowly rose, spitting and oh yeah. What? What? He said flatly and pointed at a broken body with a hoof. Rampage. What? He looked at the shaking foal with the look he'd reserved for me and the Mind Boss and thoughts of returning to 299. What? He shouted, his eyes glaring from one to the next in outrage. Something took control of her. I said firmly. The tiny Rampage looked at me as if she couldn't believe it any more than P-21 did. She killed Thorn. She said she was giving her mercy. She did it. Not Rampage. I looked at the slain foal, feeling empty and brittle again. She tried to kill me next. Glory vaporized her, and then she regenerated. She regenerated like this. God damn, girl, you're like the Doctor. P-21 clenched his head between his hooves. Are you telling me we're traveling with a psychopath? Two. I gave a stiff nod, and his eyelid twitched as he threw his hooves in the air. I love that expression. So her being crazy makes it all okay. That's so much better. I don't think she's crazy, Glory replied. This is something else. Something else is behind this. He glared at her, narrowing his eyes. You're as bad as Blackjack. Glory didn't back down. I'm telling you, the Rampage needs our help. Thor needed our help, he yelled at her. You're right! I yelled at both of them, feeling something tear in my throat and set off a coughing fit as that silenced the argument. I gritted my teeth and trying to get the words out. Thor needed us, and I failed to protect her. Me! But we can't help Thor now, I said as I staggered to my feet, coughing and hacking up snot. I nearly fell flat on my face, and was saved by Glory propping me up. It's my fault Thorn is dead. Mine. Be mad at me, P21, not Glory, not Rampage. Rampage. No, it's not, P21 said darkly, looking at the striped foal. If you can't be killed, let's dump her back in Blue Bloods. Well, and blast it shut. That'd be fair, Rampage said softly. But the thought of burying any pony alive, even after what Rampage did, the cards being shuffled in my mind. I knew that any second I was going to start having death ponies in my head and going crazy and looking crazy. No, we're not going to do that. It would be like the clinic all over again. Whatever killed Thorn was not Rampage. Understand, P21? I don't care who did it. The blood is on her hooves. What do you think the Crusaders will do when they find out? She was one of them, Blackjack. I don't know, okay? I rasped. But you bury her alive, then bury me too. I'm just as guilty as she is. Or did you forget what I did at the clinic? He stared at me, his eyes widening. It's not the same. I know it's not, P21. I know it's not. But I stared at the shaking Rampage. Our lost. I wanted to scream. I felt like I was the one going crazy now. Just trust me. Please. I begged him as I slumped against Glory. He looked at me. You can't save every pony, he said softly as I slid back to the ground. I know, but if I give up, then how can I save myself? I asked as I hid my face in shame. He gave out one last sigh. What do you need me to do, Blackjack? I looked at him and gave him a grateful smile. At least, I hoped I was smiling. God dang, there's so many feels in this story. Tell Priest. I couldn't. I'd rather die than see his face when I confirmed that our loss had been a murderer. He gave a stiff little nod, then limped away towards chapel. You should let him bury me, Rampage muttered. Stop! Stop! I croaked at her, then took a slow breath. Just stop. I don't know who you are, Rampage, but I know what I saw and what you said. I don't know if you're crazy or not, but just stop saying that we need to kill you. That won't bring Thorn back. I sighed as I sighed as I looked at the clouds, my gut clenching before I doubled up and hacking and coughing as through my bruised throat. I spat out another word another wad, hoping that stuff wasn't blood. Then I looked at her curiously. So, why are you little? God dang it. The look she gave me could have curdled Sparkle Cola. I swallowed and chuckled. Okay, you don't know. How long are you going to be like this? She gave me a little shrug. Days? Honestly, it's been almost 5 years since I was disintegrated. Right. Glory, can you take her back to the Star House, please? Blackjack, you should come too. But I just gave her the easiest smile I could, and she sighed. Of course, Glory was more worried about me. After a look, though, she finally turned to Rampage. Hold on, kid. Rampage blinked and frowned at her. I'm at least 50 years older than you. I can't help it. Glory smiled. I can't help it. You're just so cute. I'm not cute. I'm one of the top reapers in all of Huffington, I'm a crazy immortal death machine. But she's so cute. Rampage said with a stomp of her hooves. That is not cute. She glanced back at Thorn with one last mournful look. Not cute at all. Fuck! So many feels. But as I work my gypsy magic, I na 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 na. I'm sorry. That's just such a good song. Mike the Mike, you do good. Star, 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 yawning star, all the way across the sky. I scooped out the mud, but slid back into the hole. It was more bailing than digging now. My breath burned in my throat as I coughed and hacked and scrabbled, working hard and accomplishing nothing. I had to do better. I had to be strong, and kind, and aware. But I wasn't. I was just a filly scraping at the mud. I need your bag, I rasped softly. Come. Let us get out of the rain. Sakashi said as she started to help me up. Didn't you hear me? I started, then sighed. Of course she hadn't. Because she hadn't lived a life of relative ease in a stable. She'd been trapped in a mine, going deaf while the rest of her people were worked almost to death, and then gunned down around her. I took a deep breath and looked into her eyes. I need your bag, and I need you to tell me a story. See ponytails and provolone. Okay. Sakashi's eyes widened. I looked over at Thorn. Without hesitation, she bit the end of her burlap sack and dumped her belongings onto the bridge. She pawed through the strange herbs, stones, and bottles she carried. What kind of story does Guardian need? She deftly bit a bottle and tossed it up onto her snout, extending it to me. I coughed as I took it, hoping it was some kind of medicine. A funny one. I said with a little smile. But what I really need is a story about a pony who cannot die. Sakashi blinked, then tried for a smile. Ah, well, it just so happens I do know such a story. Quite humorous too. Let me try to pronounce this. Orion's story. Once he was a zebra, same as you or I. Huh. She paused and chuckled. Well, I suppose that he wasn't the same as you. He wandered the plains with his tribe. He was not the strongest hunter, nor the bravest, nor the most capable. He was, in fact, the weakest and most cowardly, and the most inept. Truly, poor Orion would not last long. But still, he wanted mares, and respect, and to stand proud and tall amongst his people. As Sakashi talked, I limped to the still form of Thorn and, gently as I could, tried to slip her into the bag. Her dull eyes looked at nothing at all. Not understanding what had happened to her, I prayed as I brushed her eyes closed, and that her last thoughts hadn't been of Rampage's betrayal. I'm so sorry, I whispered to her ear. Sagashi's story halted as she coughed in the rain before continuing. And so, as young bucks are wont to do, zebra or no, he made a foolish choice. One night, he called out to the stars, asking them to make him strong and brave and terrible. And the stars heard and granted his wish, and gave him forbidden knowledge no zebra should know. He put his spirit within a rock, and the rock within his chest. I sat up, looking at her as I pulled the drawstring tight with my magic. His spirit? There couldn't be a coincidence between the story and what I've just seen, could there? She nodded. Yes, all things have spirits. What you call a soul is the truest reflection of one's self. Funny, I recalled a particularly boring lecture about cutie marks. Why would that make him, well, invincible? There was a power to spirits. Our spirit is the truest reflection of self, the thing that makes us exist at all. And when we die, it is a piece of us that persists to eternity. But if we damage that spirit willfully and place it within another vessel, that vessel gains the resilience of the spirit. And what happens to the pony that loses it? She gave a shrug. Who can speak of such things? It is a dark subject, and I speak only of happy, funny tales. When they die, their spirit may linger in its vessel, trapped for all time. But perhaps someday the vessel may be free and reunited with the rest. That is all. That is what I hope. I can hope. Blech. So what happened to Orion? Poor silly Orion, with the heart of stone, found himself stronger than the most terrible monsters of the savannah. With his spirit within the unbreakable heart, he knew no fear, and so nothing could stand before his spears and hooves. But his tribe questioned how Orion could have gone from so little to so much. They questioned if he had used the forbidden magic of the stars, and Orion grew angry. He was strong and terrible. How dare they question how? In a rage, Orion slew his tribe, from the elders to the youngest foal, and so he was left alone. For years he wandered. All zebras fled from Orion the traitor, for the blood of the slain had marked him in stripes of crimson. No monsters could slay him, even as he wished it, for they could not devour the stone heart. No spirit could fell him, as he cried out to the stars to take back their gift. But the stars did not undo what they have done. So finally, he jumped so high that he reached the stars and joined them, hunting for the most terrible monsters of the skies, in the hopes that one may slay him. Oh, fuck. Orion. Oh, it's Orion. Oh. She finished her story, and I rested my hoof on the bag. How could some pony put their soul into a rock? Why? It's like defacing your own cutie mark, or erasing one's glyph. Takashi agreed, looking on as a spasm of coughing rolled through me. There are many stories of such things, though, of silly zebras wishing for power, or knowledge, or long life, pursuing their desire. They sever their spirit and burn it in fires of magic, or barter with beings too terrible to name, or simply secure it within a new shell. The powers gained and the knowledge and the life, however, are rarely worth the price one has paid. But there are always fools who do not heed the warnings of the stars. Warnings from the stars, or warnings about the stars? I asked, as I gently lifted the burlap sack and placed it across my shoulders. Too light, and yet so very heavy. Too young. She should have been given a great chance at more life. A chance at more life. A chance at happiness. Like those foals in the clinic. Yes, Takashi said as she used a bit of string to tie together her bottles and belongings as well as she could. I know that for ponies they are pretty lights in the sky, but just because something is pretty does not make it harmless. The stars are powerful, otherworldly, and fickle. A foolish zebra, a pony who calls upon them, dooms not only themselves but others as well. So zebras believe the stars are evil? I asked, remembering the pictures and Mary Pony's memory. Some may, but do I say evil? No. Dangerous, perilous, fickle, but they do not wish our destruction. or otherwise we would surely have been destroyed. She gave a sad little smile. It's far too easy to simply say something is evil. To invite their attentions and to plead for their aid is folly. But they are not cruel and wicked, she said, her eyes lingering on Rampage before she looked at the clouds. There are stories of stars giving guidance to those who need it. Stories of stars granting great succor and inspiration. It is when we demand of the stars that they grant our desires, much to our pain, as your nightmare moon discovered. Oh fuck y'all! Surprise, motherfucker! Nightmare moon? I asked as we talked, glad for the excuse to take my thoughts off what happened minutes ago. What does she have to do with the stars? Who do you think it was that gave her such power? She asked as she kept her eyes on me. The lessons of the stars is not that they are wicked things. How simple that would be. So many to make that mistake. It is that they allow us to bring our true horrors to the forefront, and the pain may be left in our for generation upon generation. The stars did not make your princess into that monster. The monster was there to begin with. But Nightmare Moon and Princess Luna are two different ponies, I protested. There's no way that cute, intelligent princess I'd seen could be a monster. Can you tell me the tale of how she became Nightmare Moon? The change from one to the other? Sakashi asked. I opened my mouth and closed my mouth like an idiot. I knew the story of her banishment, but I don't know. Nor do we. Many ponies believe that she made a plea to the stars that they may enter, and that they answered her call. And though her sister and people forgave her easily, that was the stars' touch. They changed forevermore. That seems pretty severe. What if I were touched by the stars? Sakashi laughed. Oh, my dear guardian, it would explain a great deal to me. But despite her laugh, there was uneasiness in her eyes. You're not star-touched just yet, Blackjack. I'd only excavated a hoof deep. My throat throbbed. Ooh, throbbing. My throat throbbed with every swallow. My eyes burned as I tried to scoop out a little more muck. I'm wondering, the dealer whispered in the rain as the rain hissed off the yellow grass around me. Is there some symbolism in this? Fuck you and your symbolism, I muttered, as I scooped out a double hoofful of sludge from the hole, the mud slathering my legs. I have to do this. I'd failed. It was my responsibility. The dealer just leaned against the wooden headstone, cards passing back and forth between his hooves as he looked at me with a... The fuck is that word? R-H-E-U-M-Y. What the fuck? Looks like some confangled zebra word. I'm never gonna try. R-H-E-U-M-Y. Pronunciations and comments, please. You're only a pony, Blackjack. No shame in that. I have to be better, I gasped. Well, then, maybe you should see if you can get Sanguine to fuse some Sandog into you. Or get some mechanical limbs. Maybe put a talisman where your heart would be so... where your heart should be so you can kick yourself in the ass for all eternity. With each question, he showed me a card. Gorgon, Deus, and the snide and cruel Rampage. Would that be better? Fuck you, I muttered as my legs gave out on the cold, wet ground. You're going to need more than harsh language to be better, Blackjack. And since you won't use what you've got, best get something that's better than nothing. And what have I got? I rasped softly, looking at the burlap sack as blood slowly stained through the cloth. My voice cracked, then failed entirely. Blackjack, you idiot. I'm gonna take a little break. Pick out tomorrow. Hello again! It's tomorrow, and I just now got finished with Final Octavia University Days Chapter 11. Let's get this show on the road! Now, I picked a nice little star page break type thingy to break on. So let's get right back into the story. Side by side, we entered chapel, and Takashi looked at me with her easy smile and worried eyes. Let me check on Majina. I wish to check on her. She tried to keep her eyes on mine, but they could not help. But they could not help but glance at my passenger. Stay with her. At least one of us should have sense. Stay with her. At least one of us should have a sense to get out of the rain. I crackled, feeling cold and tired. It was how I imagined Scalpel and Bonestom must feel. I wondered what it was like to be a mother. The thought was simply terrifying. I could barely take care of myself with my friend's help. What would it be like to worry about a foal? To lose one? You'll find out. Do do do. Foreshadowing as subtle as a steamroller. Yeah. Foreshadow. I was walking slowly past the office when Priest stepped quietly out into the rain. The water spraying off his shoulders seemed to glint around him like an aura. Our eyes met, and there were no words. I looked with eyes of guilt. He was silent. Recrimination. He'd warned. I'd failed. What needed to be said past that? He stepped past me, giving the sack a small nuzzle of farewell, and walked off towards his church. The door to the post office opened, and 3 young ponies tumbled out. Medley, Adagio, and Allegro rolled into the rainy street. Little Sonata followed the 4. She'd have been the perfect age to be a friend for Thorn. Allegro struggled to get free with his treasure, a bottle of Sparkle Cola Rad. Adagio hugged his rear legs, while Medley climbed up on his back, her horn glowing as she struggled to pull the bottle from his lips before he could drink it all. "Give it back! It's mine!" she shrieked as she pummeled his head with her hooves. "You said I'd get a drink, Alleg," Adagio protested laconically, the blue colt tugging at his limbs. "Get off!" the rose-colored colt growled, and the chartreuse unicorn yanked a bottle of soda from his mouth and held it above him. "Hey!" he protested, stretching up to reach the glowing bottle. "It's mine now," Medley declared, only to have Adagio grab her in a bear hug around the chest. Unbalanced, the pile of foals tumbled over with a loud thump. The glow around the bottle faded, and it fell into Sonata's hooves. 3 pairs of eyes met hers. The little purple earth pony smiled, and then promptly spat into the bottle. A chorus of "Ew!" filled the air, as the filly eyed the radish-flavored soda with a small smile of triumph. "Hey, it's the Security Pony," Medley said, pointing a hoof at me as she lay upside down upon the blue Adagio, whatever. "Italian's hard." They rolled to their feet. "Hoofs!" And suddenly I felt a pit opening inside me. "Did you find Thorn? Been looking everywhere for her." "What's in the bag?" Allegro said with a grin of the acquisitive. One moment while I figure out this really strange and foreign word. Acquisitiveness, I think. But he must have read something on my face. "Hey, what's wrong? You don't look so good." What could I say? How could I explain that one of my friends had killed their newest member? Hey, Sonata, did you win?" Cherry said from the doorway. The youngest of the 4 took a drink with a wide smile. "She spit in the bottle," Adagio whined. "Just like I told her. Good girl." Gotta have a claim to what's yours, right? Charity said before yelling into the post office. Sonata won. Pay up." Then she glanced at me and her smile faded. She looked at me and the sack on my back. "What are you doing?" She's acting funny, Medley said suspiciously. But Charity's eyes met mine. They flashed a moment like a beam weapon before she smiled. She said softly, "Thorn's dead, ain't she?" The four looked at her, then looked upon me in worry. Then looked at me in worry. I couldn't speak. I could only nod. She took the walk, huh? Her gold eyes looked at the bag on my back, and I knew that she was lying through her horn. But once again, all I could do was nod. The four didn't look shocked. They looked sad, resigned, as if it wasn't the first time, or as if this wasn't the first time. "I thought she was going to stay," Sonata said softly, as she hugged the almost empty bottle. Medley put a hoof around her. "I really thought she wouldn't walk." "It happens, Sonata. It happens," Medley said as she nuzzled her ear. "This was how the Crusaders survived." Adagio looked at his brother, wilting in the rain. "Wonder who told her about the bridge. Probably Panda or Crisp. I'll thump 'em if they did." The blue colt muttered dully, and that's how Colts survived. And that was how Colts survived. "Head inside. No point in being stuck in the rain," Charity said, stepping aside. When they'd gone back indoors, she looked at the bag again. "You going to take care of her?" All I could do was nod, and her gaze dropped. "Good." The yellow filly turned back to the post office. "Don't you want to know how?" I croaked, and then coughed. I was soaked through, exhausted, and just wanted to dry out. She looked back at me with her sad gold eyes. "No," she said simply, as she stepped back inside. She didn't need to know. Thorn had died, and I was taking care of her. That seemed to be enough. I'm sure a pony like her would eventually find out the details from Priest. Alone, I walked to the grave, where the trampled grass and muddy earth were the only indication that a ceremony had taken place barely an hour ago. I looked at the wooden post. Roses. Gently, I laid Thorn on the grass. I'm sorry. I didn't mean for any of this to happen," I said as I closed my eyes, hanging my head. "I bet you heard a lot, though. I bet you've heard that. Bleh. I bet you've heard that a lot, huh? You bony bastard." "You talking to me?" he said from my left, where he was sitting and looking at the grave solemnly. I glared at him hatefully. He returned my gaze and had the audacity to look upset. "Yeah, it's an old theme. The road to hell and all that." "Why can't I make it any better? Why can't I save even one fool who just lost her mother? Why do you take everything away?" "I didn't kill her," the white horse said softly as he tugged the ragged cow pony hat further over his face. "You know what I mean," I said quietly as I looked at the brown buck before me. "Why do you have to make it so hard?" "I don't, Blackjack. You do. Because you care so damn much," he said softly, looking at me with the sad, damn it, another freaking new word, avuncular smile. "And do you know what caring means?" "Caring fucking hurts, no matter how you slice it," I whispered, and then I began to dig. I don't know how long I worked on digging that hole. It could have been minutes. It felt like days. I rasped, coughed, and had conversations with my own fractured psyche. I just couldn't stop. I'd failed in all other regards. I would at least see her rest or drop in the attempt. Or see her to rest or drop in the attempt. And sure enough, my aching legs finally gave out and set me sprawling next to the sack, coughing and struggling just to breathe. "Blackjack, you idiot," P-21 said softly, beside me. "Don't you have the sense to get out of the rain?" he said as he walked to the shallow hole and moved in to my left. The rain matting his heavy mane, he started to dig alongside me. Glory slipped in on my other side. Her lavender eyes met mine, and her wing gently wiped the rain from my eyes. She set down her packs and pulled out a blanket to drape over me before she moved to the hole as well. Across from us stepped Rampage. She looked too small to help, but all the same she lay on her stomach and dug out the mess. Black Hooves stepped in beside her, and she stared up at Priest in shock as he floated a shovel before him. Giving one long look at the tiny Rampage, he proceeded to dig as well. Then, to my amazement, the rain stopped. No, it hadn't stopped raining. It simply stopped falling on us. Standing a little ways apart, Lacune watched us toil, her horn glowing. Takashi walked up with more of her potions and medicine. And then, most miraculous of all, Charity arrived with a shovel and a bucket. Beside me, the old pale buck watched with a wistful look of longing. See that? That's how it should be. Lacune glanced in my direction as I muttered to myself, I should be doing it. He gave me a look. He gave me... What? He gave me with a look I was all too familiar with. You are Blackjack. You can't do it all yourself, Blackjack. You don't need to be better. Smarter, maybe, but not better. He said as he looked at me. You just need your friends to carry some of your load. So much truth here. The six of us together made quick work of the hole, despite the mud and wet. Priest levitated Thorn down beside her mother as I watched. Rest easy, Thorn. Roses. Be united forever in the ever after. I never meant... I didn't want this to happen again. Not again. Not ever again. Rampage blubbered as she looked down into the grave like she wanted to crawl in as well. Filling the grave was far easier than emptying it. Priest just closed his eyes as Charity collected her shovels. I know our lost, but it did. He replied evenly. Yeah, she muttered softly, and gave him a wan half smile. Blackjack's going to help me figure out how to die. Pretty cool, huh? He glanced at me and then at her. Then I'll get what I deserve, and I won't do it ever again. No point deserves what you're going through, our lost. Priest replied softly. I wish there was something I could do to help, but you're still a threat to the Crusaders. You'll still have to stay away. Rampage just nodded. Can I see her before I go? His lips curled in a sad smile. Of course. She gave a nod, and the full-sized red zebra-striped pony walked quietly out into the rain, but beyond Lacune's spell. Not towards the houses, but further into the graveyard. Where's she going? Glory asked as she watched. She's visiting our daughter. He replied quietly. What? Wait. What? Oh, fuck. She wasn't even kidding. He replied quietly. There what? That's what I'm saying. Gloria covered her mouth in horror, and even P-21 looked shocked. I was barely a buck, but he gave a little shrug. Old enough for it to happen once. After a lot of scotch and persuasion. I'd never seen her so happy. Then, out of nowhere, she killed her. It drove her crazy, I think. She tried so many ways to kill herself. It scared the Crusaders. Finally, she went into the city. I lost count of the time she was vaporized by the defenses. I thought that would be that. But only she appears 2 years later as the Reaper, Rampage. Why doesn't she just bury herself or something? Bury herself for something, P-21 muttered, with a touch of shame and pity. Because it wouldn't kill her. Someday, maybe in days, or years, or centuries, she'd escape. And when she did, who knows what kinds of monster she'd be. The only punishment she feels is acceptable is to die. Priest said firmly. She has to ensure that she'll never hurt another. So she gets off easy, P-21 muttered. And be tormented eternally in hell, P-21 finished. Or Priest finished. P-21 blinked, and then glanced at me. I think he finally realized just how deeply what she'd done had hurt. There was just one last thing to do. I dug in my bags and pulled out my dragon claw. My horn was so dead that I had to grip it in my teeth and scrape it against the wood. When I finished, I looked at the post, roses, and beneath it my additions: mother, thorn, daughter. I'm done, I whispered through my ragged throat, slumping against glory. Time to get out of the rain. God dang, this story. Unfortunately, my departure from Stable 99 my departure for Stable 99 was going to have to wait a little while. I was sick. Sick. I'd almost prefer dying of radiation sickness to coughing, hacking, and generally feeling miserable. I know. Rampage was in an infinitely worse place than me, but she was simply dealing with a second childhood, or fourth, or third, or fourth. And at the moment, there was nothing I could say, I could do, as they put me upstairs in Marigold's old bed. Sakashi stopped by to administer her healing draughts and brews. Apparently, a zebra who didn't know how to mix simple concoctions was merely a striped pony. I know that they may have smelled foul, but they were far better than the boiled leaves Glory brewed up. I was also admittedly curious about zebra culture. Pretty much all I'd learned about them was that they were the enemy during the war. To hear her speak of it, the zebras had once lived in tribes across a vast grassland. Most were nomadic. The legends and archaeological evidence indicated that this might not have always have been the case. This little aside. And rather than set up large towns and cities, they simply established a few buildings for healing and protection, and protecting their wells. Unlike Equestria, which had tamed most of its wilderness, the zebra lands had been rife with monsters and threats. These were respected by the zebras, and the zebra bucks and mares would test themselves against these threats. What they lacked in unicorn magic, they made up for with rare and potent magical talismans. Apparently, a long drought changed much of this way of life. With the savannah dying, zebras were forced to gather in villages and cities built around water sources. And with zebras no longer able to just move away from them, competition with natural predators became acute. A decade or so later, the land's gem deposits were exhausted, and the dearth of the gems were the foundation of the zebra's magical talismans and the dearth of the gems that were the foundations of the zebra's magical talismans threatened their survival. Oh, too far. Oh, no. They found a twofold solution in Equestria. Equestria was industrializing, and many of the technologies it was beginning to develop held promise of replacing the need for talismans altogether. At the same time, though, Equestria had a large supply of gems, and fortunately for the zebras, its burgeoning industry also meant burgeoning demands for energy. Demands that the quickly dwindling Equestrian coal supplies were unable to meet. Agreements were made. Equestria would supply the zebras with gems and give the zebra industrialization a boost with knowledge and technology for coal mining, and in return the zebras would send coal to Equestria. That sounds fair. The demand for mining and the desire for technology completely changed their nomadic way of life. The zebra lands were tamed and exploited for their resources, and the zebras began to develop their own technologies, both earth pony-like and alchemically based, to supplement and enhance their traditional tools and talismans. The Kaiser, or Caesar, the latest to occupy a position that was formerly just a sort of highly experienced diplomat in charge of settling the largest intertribal disputes, took up the increased power the sedentary lifestyle had given him and declared a bold new future. But it was not easy. The zebras, experiencing the same sort of technological growth as Equestria, God dang it. as Equestria, also began to experience the same sorts of unsteady social changes. City dwelling was no longer just something in legends, but done by only a few small tribes, or done to weather a drought. Now it was the norm. Railroads snaked across the land, turning journeys that may have once been weeks of hard travel into a few days of well-appointed coach, or in a well-appointed coach. The increasingly unified Zebra military, armed with new weapons and new magic, simply stopped keeping the beasts away and began to hunt them down. New thoughts shot through Zebra culture like lightning, and amongst them was one that began to climb to a dangerous boil. Most Zebras had never been able to spare much thought of how things were elsewhere. They had been too busy surviving, and it wasn't as if things in faraway lands mattered much to them. Those who did think about it, though, tended to be quietly resentful of Equestria. Equestria, the chosen land of the living goddesses, where the monsters were tame, and even the seasons were ordered for the pony's comfort. Still, that resentment hadn't mattered much. Equestria didn't care much about the zebras, and the zebras couldn't do anything about the ponies. The first wake-up call came when Nightmare Moon returned and delayed the dawn. That was when the resentment started to rise, but there was still nothing those bearing it could do. Then, years later, the trade agreements were signed, and though they were very good for the zebras, they were even better for Equestria. These zebras were paying in coal 10 times what the ponies were paying in gems, and those gems were even more valuable to the zebras now than before. The new industries may have reduced the relative utility of the old talismans, but at an even higher rate it was creating new use for enchanted gems. With all this and more beneath the surface, it only took a small nick to start the process that would end up with the world exploding. The hostage crisis was that nick, and the disaster proceeded then from there. And the disaster proceeded from there. The Kaiser withheld the coal until fairer trade agreements were negotiated. In response, Equestria withheld its gem shipments. Pony power, transportation, and manufacturing were cut back, then cut back again. Zebra Industries faltered as the gem supply dried up, and the campaign against the monsters of the land found itself expanding beyond the capabilities of its suddenly reduced supplies. This only further increased Zebra reliance on coal-fueled technology, increasing the domestic demands for coal and decreasing the demands for foreign gems. Peaceful diplomacy failed, and Equestria, despite desperate as its ponies lost the infrastructure they'd come to rely on, began seizing coal shipments by force. It was curious, almost cute, to hear about the first battles. Great care was taken to minimize casualties. Prisoners were exchanged immediately. Medical care offered. Meanwhile, Celestia constantly strove for some sort of armistice. But as the war progressed, the fighting grew worse. Weapons development, new combat spells, and dangerous new spell talismans pushed the destruction onward. Every pony and zebra involved seemed to agree that the fighting should stop, but none were able to let the other side fire the last shot. Zebra refugees and displaced ponies became increasingly common, and violence and resentment against them grew. Then came the Little Horn Massacre. I only knew it as a footnote in my history books. The attack on a school prompted Celestia's abdication and elevated Princess Luna to the throne. I hadn't known that it had been Luna's school. I didn't realize that the attack had employed a terrible new poison talisman. The Kaiser denied that the school had ever been a target and said that the weapon had been lost and would never have been authorized. But the slaughter had changed everything. No pony was interested in peace anymore. The only drive was to win at any cost. Of course, The burning of Hoofington came soon after, and the reconstruction soon after that. It was as if, once unified in a common direction, the ponies raced to discover how much they could do. No pony had seen that the new horizon. No pony had seen that the new horizon they were racing towards was a cliff. Wait, some pony did, I muttered. Some pony knew. I remember the museum and the cakes. Some pony had known the day and the hour and had taken steps. But for what? I couldn't imagine. Damn it, Blackjack, if only you were smarter. Oh well. What do y'all think Blackjack's agility score would be? Post in comments, please. You gave me your damn cold, Peach21 muttered as he visited me with his own runny nose. Bah, I gave you nothing. You stole it, I retorted as I lay in bed. Well, take it back then, he muttered before sneezing hard. Ew. He stuck his tongue out and the snot. Well, he stuck his tongue out and the snot on his hoof. Ugh, I hate being sick. Or at the snot on his hoof. Apparently, stable ponies catch it more easily. We're lucky we're in Chapel, where there's not a lot of enervation. If we were in Flank, it could take days to get over. I sipped some of Sakashi's bottles. You should drink some. You should drink this. I think I've coughed up every color of the rainbow, but I feel better. Pass. Those zebra drinks taste like mare ass, he said as he stuck out his tongue. I rolled his eyes. Please. Do you even know what mare butt tastes like? He looked at me. Well, it depends on how clean she keeps herself back there. I winced as he reached over and pretended to read the label on the back. Oh look, side effects may include nausea, loss of appetite, rainbow snot, and putting all 4 hooves in your mouth. He took a drink, and his eyes widened. His navy mane frizzing as he jerked. Okay, tastes worse than... I defer to your experience, I said quickly. He took another drink, then sighed, setting the bottle back on the nightstand. I also want to apologize. I know you're trying hard. Harder than any of us. I just didn't handle it well. I'd be scared if any of us did, I said as I leaned back in the bed, looking at the moon painted on the ceiling. I'm sorry too. I want to save her. I do. And Thorn, and Roses, and Flank. And why is that so hard? Because it's better. It would have been easier to leave Roses and Thorn in that ruin, or ride off Flank. It's what I would have done. He sighed as he shook his head. You want to know what bothers me the most, though? I cringed inwardly, but nodded. I really didn't care that she was dead. It was wrong and all, completely messed up. But I was more angry at Rampage that Rampage didn't get punished for it. She is, I pointed out. Maybe. I'm not quite sold on the not crazy mare still innocent of killing a foal somehow, 'cause she really feels bad about it. Blech. I'm still not quite sold on the not crazy mare still innocent of killing a foal somehow because she feels really bad about it theory. He said with a wave of his hoof. And I still want to know what Lunake's angle, Lacune's angle is. Maybe she just wants to make the wasteland better. I don't think she has a clue what she really wants, or this goddess. I talked to priests about it, and apparently there are acolytes all over the wasteland selling this whole unity religion. And Alicorn takes you away to become one with the goddess. Catch is, no pony ever comes back. The goddess, yeah. The definition of communism. Share everything. Nothing's yours. Damn. Huh. He said as he rubbed his nose. Apparently I'm too damaged for unity, he said with a rueful smile, and too whiny. He wasn't smiling, Blackjack. No ponies too damaged for Unity. They'll take any pony. Murderers, rapists, raiders, slaves. It doesn't matter. I can't really believe that they turn any pony away for being too whiny. I frowned at that. Maybe. I just don't understand where the goddess ends and Lacune begins. She sounds like she's a part of it, and she's a part of it, but not. She said something about Hoovington being full of nightmares. I caught his look and chuckled, then coughed, hacked, and brought up something of a decidedly blah color, and spat it into a rag before shaking my head. Ew. Anyway, not normal nightmares. Scary dreams. It's definitely an alicorn thing. Well, he said as he wiped his nose on his leg. Just don't let this bite us in the tail. I mean, I know you want to help her, but she and her goddess are one great big unknown. Okay? I sighed and nodded, taking another sip of the tasty medicine. It was kind of like licorice. Salty licorice? P21 relaxed a bit. So, last question. What are we going to do in Stable 99? Take it over, I replied calmly as I rubbed my bruised throat. I mean it. If Mom won't listen, I'll shoot her till she does. I will shoot her till she does. I will feel very guilty about it afterwards, but I'm not going to let that place continue. Then I took a deep breath. After that, anyone who doesn't like the new rules can have fun in the wasteland. He looked at me with a sigh. I noticed that plan doesn't have anything about us punishing them for what they did. I closed my eyes. Sorry, I'm not an executioner. I'd give you the overmare if I could, but Deus took care of that. Well, get back to Stable 99 and take over. I assume profit follows on step 3. He crossed his foreleg on the edge of my bed and cocked his head. And if it doesn't go to plan, drink some wild Pegasus, sing some dirty limericks, shoot a lot, and try not to die. Oh, Blackjack, that's the best plan I've ever heard from you. Yet, so far. I said as I looked him in the eye. But I'm not leaving there until it's taken care of, B21. Good. That I can live with, he said softly. I know you don't believe it, I said with a smile. But most of Stable P99's ponies are good ponies. We won't have to kill them all. Because if we did, then I was going to follow them. And I couldn't believe Mom and the others would hold onto rules that weren't even part of the stable to begin with. Couldn't. Sorry, not can't. You're an optimist, Blackjack. Still, while I'm not sure about their goodness, I'm pretty sure that they aren't going out of their way to screw us. If they had a chance, then they'll do what's easier. He gave my hip a nudge. I'll be honest, fighting you is hard. I smiled at that. I need to make some cards. Security, don't fight me. Don't fight me. It's hard. And afterwards, put Mom in charge as a new overmare and put them in contact with Bottlecap. There's got to be valuable things to trade. Trade will save the wasteland. I said with a smile. Then we get the routing to the next destination for EC1101, and maybe make a little stop at Hippocratic Research and see if I can't talk Sanguine into giving up on it. Sounds good, he said, actually sounding impressed. Then he chuckled. He knows something's going to go wrong. Yeah, probably Sanguine. Oh, Sanguine! Sanguine. Sounds like pasta. Don't eat him. He's rotten flesh, I said, rolling my eyes. The Zodiacs knew I was at Stable-Tech R&D. He'll probably guess that I'll head to Stable 99 and to find the routing. He's probably going to throw everything Raider, Bandit, and Slaver against me. Or not everything. Probably why the DJ Pong 3 said the area was so much more hostile now. I brought up my pitbuck and tapped the screen. The sleek black display showed the navigation tool in soft, cool blue. I was amazed at how many places I'd searched in the last few weeks. Ditsy is flying back to New Appaloosa tomorrow. She can drop us off at Miramare. From there, it's 2 days to Megamart and 2 more to Stable 99. Okay, I'm gonna pause it right now. What the fuck? This story needs a map. I'm not even kidding. If there is, somebody point it to me. Like, link it to me in a comment or something. Please. And that's all. That's a lot of ground to cover. Any chance this could fly straight to 99? She's not a taxi. 99 is way out of her way, and we used up most of our caps paying for EC 1101. Maybe most of that money went to Ditsy for flying all the way out to Hoofington and back, a trip she usually risks only every other year or so. Every other year or so. Oh, 1 second. Okay, we're in almost an hour and a half in. I'm just gonna pause it. The next page break, and make a part B with the rest of it, because this is gonna be one hell of an upload. All right. Where was I? All right. Oh, we can't keep her from business just to save us some walking. He made a face. All very well for you, he said with a grimace. All your legs work. My knees are half shot too. After jumping off that catwalk, I reminded him. I could have taken a Hydra, but after all the damage done to me by the drug, not to mention seeing the manufacturing process, I'd rather wait a bit instead. He looked a little unconvinced. It'll work out, and just think, in a few days we'll be able to get to set Stable 99 right once and for all. He rubbed his chin. Well, that's a point. Maybe, though, we could find one of those magic flying wagons of our own. That would make travel much easier. Cameo. Is that a cameo I see? A little nod to the source material? I doubt that Glory will be up to flying us around. Will be up to flying us all around the hoof. I said, not sure if a Pegasus lift was related. If a Pegasus lift was related to her size. Huh? A Pegasus lift was. Or not sure if a Pegasus lift was related to their size. Oh, flying lift. Okay. Then again, Ditsy wasn't the largest pony in Equestria, and her wings didn't even have feathers. So I don't know how it worked. Well, nothing new there. Glory would fly through fire if you asked her to, P21 pointed out. I flushed a little. It's not like that. It just feels weird to lust after her, and I'm not going to exploit her crush on me. So we'll stick with the plan. Maybe. I don't know. It just seems that every time you have a plan, it ends in disaster and heartbreak, he said as he rose. I should go make sure we have everything we need. Leaving me in bed is an interesting problem. On one hoof, I was tired. On the second, I felt too rotten to sleep. On the third, I wouldn't feel anything if I was asleep. But on the fourth, my dreams were full of the sounds of crunching foals, and Thorn singing "Hush" now. However, being stuck in bed felt suspiciously like waiting. And I finished my gun magazine and the hoof-to-hoof training manual. Then, in desperation, I'd even tried reading one of P21's arcane science books. There simply wasn't any way to make arcane radiation gem reactors and spark generators as thrilling as reading about fallen Kaiser fighting techniques. And don't get me started on his book on locks. I still had 2 more memory orbs that I hadn't viewed yet. Theoretically, I was safe as houses, provided no stealth zebras or ghost unicorns attacked. I levitated the 2 from my bag. I still didn't want to view the bloodstained orb, so I lifted the 3rd. Then frowned and floated Cupcake's revolver into my bed, slipping it under my pillow. I breathed out and touched the orb with my magic. Nothing. Not that it was locked or anything. It was just that I could feel Stonewing being merged with the cockatrice. sensed the creature squirming inside me as I shifted and distorted. It made my hide crawl. I took several deep breaths, closed my eyes, and tried to coax myself to make the connection. Nothing. I was sick. I was tired. My horns sucked. My horns sucked. Always decent explanations, but somehow they didn't comfort me. How would I learn about the projects and see the marauders if I can't even get my horn to make the connection? I lay back in bed, staring up at the moon. Had Marigold felt this way when she was being slandered and torn down by the system that had happily put her in harm's way? Exhausted, disconnected, and alone? I tried to make the connection again and again before finally dropping the orb back into my bag and turning over in the bed. Just one more thing I couldn't do. And with that, I am going to cut this one short. I am exactly 49% way through this fic, and it is nearly an hour and a half. Yeah, I'll get the rest of it up tomorrow. Or, hell, later today. It's only 10 o'clock. This has been Nightlife giving you part 1 of Chapter 20 of Fallout Equestria Project Horizons, Mercy, by Somber. Nightlife out. Peace, baby.